Welcome back, listeners, to another brilliant episode on the BizBlend podcast. Now, just think about this. We chase business growth and sometimes we chase inner peace. But wonder what happens when the two collide. Now, if you're listening with us right now, just picture yourself sitting right at this table with us. You have had days when your mindset felt bulletproof and days when getting out of bed it felt like the hardest business decision you could have ever made. Today we are diving into that intersection, listeners, where mental health meets marketing, mindset fuels business development, and where personal growth isn't a luxury, it isn't a fluff, but the very foundation of sustainable success. Our guest, Kenneth Wyche, knows this terrain very well. He's not only the award winning author of Get Your Mind Right, but also he's the founder of Life with Ken, which is a lifestyle brand that helps people live with more confidence. With a background in psychology, business, and leadership, Kenneth is here to explore how rewiring the mind can also rewire the bottom line. So, Kenneth, welcome to the show, and I'm really, really honored to have you here with us.
Oh, that was a great introduction. I'm glad to be here. Yeah, I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Super, super. Kenneth, uh, you know, before we dive deep into, the bridge between mental health and business, about your book and about your lifestyle brand, how it all started for you. I mean, did you have the entrepreneurship fire within you right from the beginning? Did you understand, or did you have had the experience of understanding, how psychology and entrepreneurship or business interact? Like, how did it all, what was the origin?
Sure. Well, so ultimately, what ended up happening was my educational background just naturally ended up blending in with professionalism. So my master's degree is in applied community and social psychology. And the strength of that degree allows me, and what I learned with that expertise and with that background, is I am particularly skilled at identifying opportunities within different structures and organizations for optimization. And so, um, at a with as an example, what that practically looks like is like, you go into an organization, let's say it's a small business and you like well, so I've worked at really small businesses with only 3 or 4 employees, and then I've been part of very large businesses where, the group chat is um miles long. So, but in either scenario, there are things in that context, like just people, you have one person doing this job, another person doing that job, so on and so forth. Like that's just how jobs work. You have people doing different things. Each different person doing a different thing has their own mindset, has their own psychology, has their own thought process. My expertise within that context and using that example that I just described to you, my expertise has developed to be how can I or what do I what's my responsibility or how can I, to the best of my ability, make sure that all of these different people who have their different interests and have their different um, goals and desires and things that they ambitions and things that they want to see accomplished for themselves. How can I get all of those different ideas and mindsets and people in alignment on mission, on vision to achieve something greater? How do I get the sum of the parts to unify to achieve a greater good? So that's where I ended up in terms of just learning, growing and developing, going to school, so on and so forth. That's been the trajectory. But before I even got there, um what has the stepping stones to getting to this place? I didn't so little kids especially here in the States, we love to ask them what are they gonna be when they grow up. And for me, when among that list and myriad of things of being a firefighter, the president, an astronaut, so on and so forth, there was a desire to be an entrepreneur in there as well. But, as a kid, it's like, yeah, you can do anything you put your mind to, great, wonderful. But then what do you end up actually putting your mind to as you get older? And for me, like, I've just committed to psychology ever since the 8th grade. I focused on psych. I ended up in high school getting into honor psychology, and then from there going to school, undergrad, grad, and so as I committed to psychology, and then as I committed to the bill of goods, at least back when I was going to middle school, high school, and college, where back then the message from teachers and advisors was, well, if you go to school, go to college after high school, get your degree, make sure you have really good extracurriculars, um, and you do all the right things, you join all the clubs, you get into a decent school, you get your degree, and then once you do those things, an abundance of opportunity will open up to you in terms of jobs or whatever other stuff, in terms of networking, how whatever that looks like for you. When you get out in the real world, um the mechanisms of what being alive just naturally happen. And so a lot of people in the United States, especially in my era, were told, go to school, get the grades, get
Yeah.
in, get involved, then you'll get a house, then you'll get a wife, then you'll get a
Yeah.
dog. You
Yeah.
know, I believe that. Like, I was the peak of that, so I got super
Oh.
fully propagandized into believing that that is what you have to do. Um, and so that 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 understanding seeded and fueled my ambition, and then going into psychology and trying to figure out how can I make this aspect of human behavior connect. And I remember when I went into my master's program, my advisor said, "Oh yeah, we have a wonderful program where we can connect mental health with leadership and organizational development." And so that's again, that's how I arrived, how I got here today. Is just I stuck with education, and I stuck with believing eventually it will pay off. So that's how I got here.
That's superb, Kenneth. That is super. I think it's kind of an, um, I believe, a blessing, exception, that something which you are passionate within is also externally supported as well.
Yeah.
Um, and because often it's very frequent nowadays that we can get affected by external factors, but then deep down inside we want to do something else. That's
Yeah.
how. Uh-huh. Go ahead, Ken.
I was gonna say yeah, I was gonna say, like, that's a lot of people. I haven't looked at the, numbers recently, but I think it's certainly a plurality, so anywhere above 50 and 60% of most people, they don't wanna go to work, they're actively disengaged at work. They did not what a pencil pusher, an average pencil pusher is doing today is probably not what they went into debt for.
Yeah, yeah. And I can see a lot of clarity in there. Yeah, it's a lot of clarity in there. And I think uh, that is early on. I think it's a very, um, once again, a blessing to start, because that kind of, keeps you uh, motivated, fueled, and,
Yes.
uh, rightfully directed at that path, towards your goal or your whatever you want to achieve. So that's
Mhm.
really good to know. Yes. And thank you for reviving everything and sharing with us. And now coming to your work in it connects psychology and business. Now, when we come to entrepreneurs, founders, it's very once again frequent to underestimate the role of mental health in their success. That's why we often are seeing that burnout is happening. They kind of are have sometimes the identity loss, or maybe they're not able to connect with themselves or their family, their loved ones. Sometimes it kind of trickles down into their team members as well, or uh, uh, the uh, partners they're working with, sometimes clients they're working with. So, um, was there a time in your own journey, Kenneth, where ignoring mental health cost you something significant in business?
Yes. So it's difficult kind trying to like thread this needle or like walk this line because well, maybe not so much in 2025. I think it's again becoming more common, particularly with artificial intelligence that is taking a lot of like entry level white collar work. I think that um for me when I first started out after I graduated college, um after I graduated, I went right into the corporate world, went right into sales, and, um, there was just and even before college, I remember I had this really decent summer job, like, it was really decent, working in my city where I grew up in New Jersey, and, I remember I had a good job for someone who's 16, 17, 18, whatever age I was at the time, and, it was like, "Alright, this is pretty cool," but it was pretty mundane too. It was like, I went I went and I was a filer. I would just make sure information is organized and put in the right place and answer questions. I think I worked a cash register too, so but it was pretty, like, relaxed in a chill environment, but, like,
Yeah.
it was just so, like boring for lack of a better word. The people were exact interesting and the work was easy to do. And again, the job was really decent. The pay wasn't bad. I had gotten help to get the position, so on and so forth. But I remember even then feeling like, is this it? Is this what the sum of my existence is? Go to school and then waste 40, not waste, but the drag of giving, the bulk of your week every week to something that you may not be passionate about. And I understand people have to do that. And, we're in a really particular economic situation across the world. So I get that. But I'm just saying, like, for me, I wasn't satisfied early on in, um, just being an employee, and everybody has to work for someone else before they can work for themselves, but I think that my blessing was identifying, "Okay, I don't like this feeling, I don't like the context that I'm in with respect to what it's like to work for somebody else. I'm not a bad employee, it's just that being an employee may not be for me." And so that was a revelation that I had, and that allowed me to take certain steps towards, manifesting different types of reality.
Hmm. Once again, that's clarity in there, Kenneth. That's clarity in there. And it
Yeah,
was all sorted out. You could see what you knew, and you still know what you are doing and what you want to do.
right.
Super. That's inspiring, Kenneth. And um, now coming to your book, which is Get Your Mind Right. Um, quite an interesting name in there. You emphasize the power of mindset. But then, it can feel abstract. Like, how do you translate mindset into daily practical action for business owners? Is it the pattern in which they are working? Is it the pattern in which they are reacting to events or challenges? Or is the pattern in which they are communicating with their teams or with clients? Like, how exactly translate?
Yeah, absolutely. So, that's a good question. How I look at it um a leader, so in organizations you typically have other things that guide you, whether it be a mission statement, whether it be a corporate vision, or
Yeah.
maybe you are responsible to responding to others, like you have a directors that you have to respond to, or you have someone above in whatever context that looks like in terms of the structure where you have to respond to somebody else. And so sometimes in that scenario, you get direction or vision um from someone else. So it's a little bit easier to be the conduit of somebody else's vision in that regard. But um mindset is how an individual, and in this case, a leader, approaches different things that arise in their day. And a fair portion, because I think a lot of people like to talk about mindset these days. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a buzzword, but it's starting to give buzzword kind of energy or weasel word kind of energy where someone just says it, but it's like, okay, well, what do you really mean? You're kind of using it as a catch all or an umbrella phrase. But one good way to think about your mindset is just framing. When you are presented with a scenario, how are you framing, or what is your how are you interpreting everything that is within the context of the scenario that you're dealing with? Um and so some of that looks like, what are your schemas for what you're having to uh speak to, what are some of your predispositions to that? Here's like a real kind of practical anecdote or example that you and the audience might be able to wrap your head around. If you're in if you're a leader and you're speaking with 2 or 3 individuals in a meeting, mindset, for example, will look like, as the leader, what what do you know about the people that you're talking to, and how are you approaching the conversation or the topic at hand, and what is the intended purpose um of the conversation? So being able to lead the conversation to some conclusion, but then also being able to use your subjectivity for a greater purpose. I think that leaders should learn that that is really important, that people lean on them for more reasons than one with respect to direction. So yes, direction in terms of what do I need to do, but also direction in terms of how should I feel, directions in terms of what should I think about this issue that I'm facing, direction in terms of what potentially is the next move I should make, or how can I grow and develop? Like, how is a leader supporting their subordinates to grow and develop? And so your mindset, a person's mindset, touches all of those things subjectively, so it can be difficult without speaking to a person about what their proclivities are and how they think about certain things, what is influencing their decision making. But mindset is that, it is your proclivities, it is your worldview, and it is how you apply those things to certain contexts. And ultimately, it's a cause and effect. So after you do something, something else happens, and then you take you with you to that next thing and address that next thing. But that it is a conscious awareness of you bringing yourself to whatever it is you are participating in or a part of, and knowing your purpose with respect to bringing yourself to that scenario.
Hmm. That is interesting. That's interesting. And I think the way you explained it, I think it makes or grounds mindset in something tangible. Uh, many people would often say that mindset is all about positivity, or super super positive, optimistic. Everything is going to be fine. Kind of, which literally looks like you are escaping reality in there, like toxic positivity, as we.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, yeah,
So,
that's
yeah.
positivity. And I think that a lot of people do frame their mindset positively. I think a lot of people put how they think in a positive connotation, but it's not just simply being positive. Your mindset can sound positive, but the next step is how does that framework inform how you live and how you exist?
Exactly, exactly. Brilliant, brilliant. And okay, now of course your brand, Life with Ken, um, what it's looks like it's built on confidence and lifestyle, Kenneth. So, um, once again, bringing in another buzzword, authenticity. But in the truest meaning here, how do you balance marketing yourself without feeling like you are just selling yourself?
Yeah. Um, that is such an informed question, and I think that for me, I think that being able to compartmentalize has been a big blessing for me. There's a chapter on that in my book, but essentially, how are you again segmenting what you have to deal with in your mind? Like if your house, if your mind was a house and you had a bunch of different rooms, and each room is something that you are responsible for, or each room represents one of your responsibilities. That's how I think of compartmentalization. Your mind is a house, and each room in the house represents a responsibility that you have in the real world. So in your mind, maybe you have one room that is if you have a family, okay, this one room, when I walk in this room, I got to think about my kids, or if there's a thought process about that. In this next room, when I walk in this room mentally in my mind, I'm at work and I have to put on my work hat and I have to think about, different ways of achieving profitability, or, you know, when I go to the gym, I have a gym hat, and all I'm focused on is pumping this weight and doing as many reps and sets, whatever that looks like for somebody. So that's helped me being able to put one thing in one aspect of my mind, and one thing in another side of my mind, and thinking about those things separately. So I try to um differentiate myself from my brand. Like, yes, I run the brand and it's called Life with Ken, and I'm Ken, and I curate and create the content for that. But then I also do a good job at leaving that creating a space for it. A lot of leaders can learn to create space. And creating space doesn't always necessarily literally mean going and buying a place and renting it out and, oh, you have physical space. Creating space can be, okay, we are just going to create a moment, or maybe it's a digital space and I have a folder or something that is dedicated to the intellectual property of whatever it is. You need to have dedicated energy and space to do that work most effectively. So I've done a good job at saying, okay, Life with Kin stuff is over here. Business stuff is over here. Building a brand, having a vision, having purpose, having a goal is over here. And then Kenneth Wyche, the person who likes anime and likes to, relax and cook and whatever else he likes to do, is over here on this side. And that has helped me build both myself professionally, personally, and professionally, but also Life with Ken as an endeavor. Because I can show up at a show like this, be myself, and talk about what other stuff that I have going on, and provide value and insight, and have something that's a resource for people to turn to so that they can be empowered and inspired. I can do that as opposed to wearing labels or being tied down to a certain perspective or lane of existence. So that's what's helped me, just being intentional with giving Kenneth the person space and then giving what I do for workspace. And I am intentional about separating those two things. Who you are is different from what you do, whatever it is that you do. And you just bring you with you to whatever you do, which again goes to mindset.
Wow. Huh. That was, you know, a well closed loop in there, Kenneth. I really, now I realize, I really, really love the confidence in here because it's not pompous and it's self aware once again with clarity. So I think our listeners, they just, kind of experienced that how you are your brand, life with Ken, but then what exactly has to be differentiated, what exactly has to be put out there.
Yeah.
So I think that's tough. It definitely takes uh, time, it definitely takes discipline and consistency. But yeah, that's really brilliant, Kenneth.
It- You also have to know what you have to offer. And
Yeah.
so, like, for me, like, I just knowing that like one of my strongest commodities is information, and so, like, I understand that I can package that in some way, or I figured out how to package that in some way, but I think that that's the other aspect is, like, knowing what you have to offer, what you can create and put into the world that might be of value, and how you, cherish and cultivate that value as well, so that's another important thing, like, what's your role or what can your role be in society at large or within a certain microcosm of society?
Hmm. Superb, superb. And of course, before we wrap up, Kenneth, if our listeners, they would like to connect with you and also get to explore life with Ken, and of course, your best-selling book, Get Your Mind Right. What would be the easiest way?
So yeah, the easiest way if you want to connect with me, if you have X, formerly known as Twitter, you can find me at underscore kintastic underscore. So underscore KENTASTIC underscore. If you go there, you'll see my link to all of my different stuff from there. So it'll be easy from there to get connected with me. You can also visit lifewithkin.com. That is the main website for my brand. There you'll see my book and all the other resources that we curate for people to live more confidently. And just another quick point on that, we talk about on that psychology, mental health, personal, professional development opportunities for you to become a better person, and this supplemental information for you to learn something from and apply in your own life. Whether it be in my book, whether it be my brand, whether it be, doing something like this where I get to speak and join someone on a show. I want to try to give you all practical lessons throughout whatever I do or practical applications that you can apply almost immediately or something that will change your thinking or something like that. I want to add value however I can. So that's how you can get more connected with me.
Brilliant, brilliant. I'll make sure to have all the links in the show notes for our listeners, Kenneth. And thank you so much for. I think I believe your words touched a nerve, and you brought your wisdom and your humanity into this space. So thank you so much for sharing your journey and, of course, your insights in here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sad we're done already. Sorry for me. I
Oh,
gotta
okay, great.
um for my next project or something, I have to come back.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anytime, Kenneth, anytime. And I loved it because it's very rare to see. It's kind of a typical um, preconceived image that we have in our minds of people who have a lot of confidence and they're successful. They always like a very energetic and very loud and very active and doing all, you know, kind of
Yeah.
body movements, and their decibels are like, oh my goodness. But what I can see that there can be a um, there can be a beautiful balance between confidence, clarity, and self awareness.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much for bringing this energy up in here. And also, to all the listeners, thank you so much for devoting your precious time into listening to this conversation on this blend. If it resonated with you, maybe today's the moment to ask yourself, is my mindset aligned with the business I am building? Or am I building something at the cost of my well being? So, thank you to everyone. And once again, to connect with Kenneth and explore about his brand Life with Ken, just refer to the show notes along with this episode. Until then, this is BizBlend, and I am your host, Sana, signing off. Thank you.